pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans, and this is so important to me.
Well, that was Donald Trump speaking on election night, but for many Americans, those words ring hollow because just a few days after he made his remarks, he appointed Breitbart News chairman and person described as a white nationalist, Steve Bannon, as his chief White House strategist. That has angered folks all across the country, including Democrats, as well as activists. They have been calling for Bannon's appointment to be rescinded. Now a group of black clergy are the latest to call for his ouster. 17 black religious leaders from around the country signed an open letter to President-elect Trump urging him to reconsider his appointment of Bannon in order for the country to move forward. They wrote, quote, "The publicly reported information about Mr. Bannon makes reconciliation and unity extremely difficult. It is alarming that a man who provides a home to a movement that in turn is a home to white supremacists will have a senior position in the White House. We are troubled by this deeply misguided, unnuanced, and divisive perspective." Joining us right now is Reverend Dr. James C. Perkins, president of the Progressive National Baptist Convention, Inc. He joins us from Detroit via FaceTime. Dr. Perkins, we've seen Democrats sign a letter. They sent to President-elect Trump. In fact, the author of that letter said that he went to every Republican asking them to also sign it. Not a single one chose to do so. We've seen the stories that Breitbart has done under this chair. We've seen other people come out and criticize his positions, his thoughts, his comments about Asian CEOs. What does it say, though, about Trump that he would want this person at his side who he really put above the chief of staff appointment rights previous?
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Martin, it says that birds of a feather flock together. And as the American Clergy Leadership Conference, what we're hoping is that Mr. Trump meant what he said when he said he was going to work to try to be the president of all Americans. If that is the case, then we believe as African Americans that to put an avowed white nationalist as his chief administrator and advisor is an insult to us as African Americans. And right out of the gate, in terms of his presidency, he is acknowledging that he is totally insensitive of our needs and of what we need as African Americans. And so our hope is that he will hear us and that he will take Mr. Bannon down as his chief strategist.
Got to ask you this here, of course, Pastor Paula White, who leads a largely black church in Orlando, was one of the folks who was out there campaigning for, endorsing Donald Trump, speaking about his faith. Franklin Graham has been out there as well. You have, of course, Jerry Falwell Jr., Robert Jeffress. Where's white clergy? Why are you also challenging them to say something? Because they've been absolutely quiet. How about James Robinson? We see him on Christian television, on TBN as well. Where are white members of the clergy on this issue?
Well, again, I believe that white evangelicals, as they are pointed out to be, have decided to side with a person who is a philanderer, who is a casino mogul, and it flies in the face of all of the values that they espouse. And so we believe that they're being more white than Christian. And so our point is that if Mr. Trump is serious about trying to unify us and not be divisive, that he will take Mr. Bannon down as his chief strategist.
We have seen the Anti-Defamation League and others also speak out. They've been criticized as well. We've seen Muslim leaders speak out as well, Silicon Valley execs. And so you sent this particular letter to him, and I understand that. But are you going to call for and literally challenge those white evangelicals on this issue?
We have reached out to them in the past to try to engage them in conversation. We have not had as much success as we would hope, but the point is that we're going to keep trying, and we're going to keep trying to push our agenda. And our agenda is to get Mr. Trump to be sensitive to our needs. Where is he on Voting Rights Act and restoring the Voting Rights Act of 1965? What are his plans for urban renewal and redevelopment? And we will be prepared to respond to him every step of the way.
All right, Reverend Dr. James Perkins, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let's go to our panel here. A. Scott Bolden, George Jefferson Nuri, Eugene Craig. Folks, the pressure continues to be ramped up, Eugene, on Trump. And again, this is not going to go away.
No, not at all. Breitbart News is, over the last year and a half, 2 years, has become one of the most prominent news, fake news sites out there.
Quote prominent?
Quote prominent. Well, I'll play this. They were able to.
Fake.
Well, look, they were able to, launch pad a president to the presidency, for what it's worth. Steve Bannon, this is a guy that has said, things like, there are too many Asian CEOs in Silicon Valley. This is a guy that has headed a website that literally has a tagline, Black Crime. This is a guy that called Bill Kristol, who is probably somebody none of us would agree with, a renegade Jew. But, this is the character of this person. I think, he being in the White House as a chief strategist, when looking at on his face, on paper, equal value to the chief of staff, but, looking at the actual influence, has more value than the chief of staff is troubling to all of us.
Yeah, Roland, Steve Bannon's probably the most dangerous man in Washington right now. And look for the manifestations of the white nationalist movement, the alt-right, that is living in the White House right now to manifest itself at various policy levels and various political levels. That's the most dangerous part. But secondly, more importantly, this is a political debt that Donald Trump is paying back to the white nationalist movement and the alt-right movement. And the bottom line is, he'd rather have Bannon in the tent versus outside the tent, because when the relationship ends or when it hits a rocky road, he'd rather have Bannon not attacking him on the outside, which is why he's brought him on the inside, to all of our detriment.
I think that Steve Bannon represents the core of what Donald Trump believes about life.
And got him elected.
I think that Donald Trump has not disavowed a relationship with David Duke. He has not disavowed a relationship, an endorsement from the Ku Klux Klan. I think that what we're not holding is that it doesn't matter whether Steve Bannon has an office in the White House, he will be an influence on this president because he believes in this guy. He believes in these conspiracy theories. He believes that white supremacy, as we're calling it, alt-right, is the right way to make this country great.
Let me tell you, hold on one second. So CBS News is reporting that Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions, this is him speaking at the Republican National Convention this year, that Trump has asked him to be the Attorney General. Now, this is the same Jeff Sessions who 30 years ago was denied a federal judgeship because of race allegations. Now, this is the person, according to CBS, who's now going to be the Attorney General, who's now going to be over the Department of Justice, who is going to be the person over the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, the person who's going to be playing a role when it comes to enforcing the issue of voting rights in this country as well.
And immigration.
Scott, as an attorney, your thoughts about Jeff Sessions, according to CBS, being the next Attorney General. What does that say to black folks? Well,
I think black folks ought to be concerned. That's a very dangerous appointment, especially when it comes to those issues that you raised, as well as immigration. He's a long way from being confirmed, and if he couldn't be a federal judge several years ago, then look for the Republicans, the moderate Republicans and the Democrats, to fight this appointment. And maybe Jeff Sessions has changed, maybe he hasn't, but the political philosophy of these individuals that Donald Trump owes political debts to for his election is even more dangerous. And the manifestations of what they bring to the table, political philosophy versus competence, or versus wanting to have lead the country in a certain direction, especially at DOJ, is problematic.
This is a New York Times story that was done just a few days ago, folks. Shelley, pull the iPad up, please. Spectre of race shadows Jeff Sessions, potential Trump nominee for cabinet. The lead story talks about prosecutor J. Gerald Hebert, who said he heard a shocking story. A federal judge had called a prominent white lawyer a disgrace to his race for representing black clients. Well, Mr. Sessions replied, according to Mr. Hebert, maybe he is. in their story, he also talked about that Jeff Sessions called the ACLU, the NAACP, quote, un-American, quote, for trying to force civil rights down the throats of people. Again, this is, Joy and Eugene, this is the person who's going to be the chief law enforcement officer of the United States.
Well, Roland, the America that Donald Trump is trying to make great again happened in 1953. It is when white men ruled. It was before Martin Luther King, before Bella Abzug, and before there was a Latino empowerment movement in this country. I am not surprised. I can't believe I'm sitting here saying I'm glad that it's not
Rudolph
Giuliani. I can't believe I'm actually saying that. I'm not that glad. I'm not that glad. But it's consistent with the storytelling. He is not doing anything that he hasn't told us from the beginning. He wanted America great again, and his vision of it happened in 1953 and before.
Yeah, go right ahead.
My opening statement was going to be, at least it wasn't Rudy Giuliani. You beat me to it. But I do think there are.
Happy that Mitt Romney's going.
Well, hey.
What is happening in the universe?
I'll put it this way.
I'm wishing
for him.
This is going to be interesting to play out. Jeff Sessions currently the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Before that, as a ranking member. And then the irony of it is that he ended up as a ranking member after being denied a judgeship by that same committee. And so I think it's going to be interesting to watch him play out. I do think there is some wiggle room there. I also do think that we do have some competent U.S. senators, in particular Rand Paul.
Let me read this for you. He said, quote, in his New York Times story, he was less clear about his remarks about civil rights groups. Asked whether he ever said the NAACP hates white people or was a commie group and a pinko organization, Mr. Sessions said he could not recall specifically saying that, quote, I am loose with my tongue on occasion, and I may have said something similar to that or could be interpreted to that.
Yep. And, CNN played the clip last night, particularly Joe Biden, that was, doing the questioning of him. I think Jeff Sessions and some of the other Trump appointments that are coming out of the pipeline are going to face some of the toughest scrutiny and questioning that's ever been given to a nominee of a presidential appointment.
And then get the job.
I don't think so. I'll be honest with you. And we have reasonable, Republican U.S. senators like Rand Paul that are already drawing a line in the sand. But I'm not sure
he's got enough stroke to get that done.
It only takes, with the 51-49 majority, 51-person majority, it only takes one or two U.S. senators on our side to vote with the other side to block a nomination. That's a lot of power.
Well, this is, before I got to go to my next segment, I'll end it with this here. The last paragraph of this New York Times story. In a phone interview, Mr. Aber, the prosecutor who made the comment, the first one I said it was frightening thought that Mr. Sessions might lead the Justice Department, and he said, point blank, that would be the case. But again, according to CBS, Jeff Sessions has been nominated by Trump to be the Attorney General of the United States. Boy, we'll see.
It's going to be a fight.
It's going to be a fight, and we'll see exactly where he's going to come down on the Voting Rights Act, enforcement of that, what's happening with police brutality, when it comes to criminal justice reform.
Right. And immigration,
absolutely,
and
as well.
And he's a big anti-immigration person.
And probably the biggest one in the United States.
Right.
Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.